Hello, and welcome back to Divine Journey 2. Last time we took a very long way around setting up our automation for BloodMagic essences, and we got the first tier done. We then took some time to automate things like powered spawners for things like sentient ender and ender crystals, because I imagine we're going to need a lot of mob drops for the rest of the essences we need. And then we set up mechanism, or processing, for these shards, crystals, and clumps. I think that's shards, not crystals, actually. Today, however, I would like to go back to my goals from last time. I would like to actually progress through EvilCraft this time, look at our Hellfire Forges for the reagents we need to make Runic Plates, because I kind of want to see if we can get to Botania today. Or at least, right in front of Botania. To that end, I spent a little bit of time between episodes adding some more things to our renaming wall. In particular, all the way up until our Tier 4 Catalyst should be ready to go here for once we get the items. And the only thing I believe we're currently missing from this side is Arboreal Essence, which I set up a tree farm for, also between episodes. Arboreal Essence is made of these 4 different sapling types, plus these hardened blood droplets we've been using, and they're used in Orbis Terrae, just one of the Tier 2 essences. It's in a pyrocrafting ritual, so we can kind of automate it, but it's nothing too crazy. We can do it by batches until we get to a point where we're annoyed with it. And then we'll actually automate the pyre. For today, however, I have set up some interfaces with most of the items requested. As you can see, for whatever essence this is, all we're missing is this hardened electrum glass. These Cyclops eye shards we don't have on passive, so we're going to have to get a Cyclops and spawn that in a powered spawner. This is actually all done entirely, which is super nice. And for this one, all we're missing is Arboreal Essence and the renaming step. So in a stark contrast to last time, we may have an entire tier of essences passive in about 2 minutes. So while we do all the rest of that, I'm just going to set this up, light this up, and chuck a bunch of stuff in here, and I think that should autocraft that for a while. I don't remember if it drops it on the ground or if it actually puts it in the chest. I think it put it in the chest. It did not. So we'll get like an absorption hopper for this. Yeah, we'll just chuck this right here for the time being while we go do some other stuff. And this should make some Arboreal Essence for us for the near while. Because this was actually already easy to set up, we already have our Crystallos, which is one of our Tier 2 essences. Besides the Arboreal Essence, we need this Sanctus, which requires, the only thing we're missing here is Hardened Electrum Glass, which is actually super easy. This should be a very easy passive setup. And Magisalis, which needs these Cyclops eye shards, which seems to, as the name would imply, drop from Cyclops, so we're just going to need a powered spawner for this. We just need a powered spawner. Remember when that used to be something really scary to hear? Man, times change. Bum, 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 bum. No sweat at all. One to go. Oh, I gotta find a Cyclops now? Wait, is it a Cyclops or a Caveclops? Is there a difference? Yes. If it's a Cyclops, I think I've seen some around then, actually, over in this field here. Unfortunately, I think I'm going to have the Minecraft effect of when you start looking for something, even how common it may be, you won't find it for quite a while. Ah, nope, never mind. Here they are. Yoink. Dink donk. Well, that was pretty easy. Although I'm starting to think the Mob Masher might not be able to keep up with everything. These guys can drop blood gems and gold, as well as these Cyclops eye shards, so we're going to get a compacting drawer for the shards, and then just a drawer for both of these as well. Which, hey, I won't complain to another source of gold. Oh my gosh, and it's very fast, too. I think I'll actually put a little upgrade on that, just in case we can get a little bit more out of that than we bargained for. And that's that done. Means we should be able to just come over here, set a few filters, grab that Arboreal Essence we made, set some more filters, and let them rip. And watch as our LP drains to 0 but doesn't kill us. Does it just stop these actually when it is out of LP? Oh. Oh, I thought it was just gonna kill me. Well, that's good to know. Let's filter our Sanctus, Magisalis, and our Orbis Terrae. Grab one of each. Oh, nope. We already did that. Cool. Tier 2 essences. That was a lot faster than last time, wasn't it? Now, the real reason I really wanted to rush those was to get this undead wood, so that we can go down here and start with our incense altar. Because I believe that what will make the rest of this chapter fly by is a better source of LP, and this is probably the best source of LP we have until later. So let's start with some EvilCraft. So looking to start EvilCraft here, we have 2 different ways of going about it. We have this Promise Acceptor that we use to make an Iron Promise Acceptor, which I think upgrades our infusers. And we have this Bowl of Promises, which I think tears up our blood orbs. We probably need both, so we'll just do them both, obviously. These promise acceptors seem pretty easy. It's just blood and a empowered Inori crystal block. Nothing too crazy here. These bowls of promises take a filled bowl of empty promises. And most of this doesn't seem too bad. We have Magisalis on passive now. Crushed dark gems are no problem. These bowls of empty promises are also pretty easy now. We can make dark power gems much easier with blood, and we have Aquasalis on passive. Spikes are also pretty easy. We can make iron spikes and dark gems are nothing, so this is all just stuff to make, so I'll be back in a second with all this stuff done. We don't have anything crazy for the Hellfire Forges yet, so we're just doing this by hand at the moment. Are we? Oh, this needs a minimum 200 will, so we actually need to upgrade our Tartaric gems. And it looks like for those we need to actually make our reagents, so we'll just make a couple of each of these to start with. We're certainly going to want a passive or have these on autocraft at some point in the future, but for right now we'll just make like 8 to 32, depending on how many of these we want, or how expensive these all are. Starting with these air reagents, this isn't too bad overall. These tanks are stuff we can make very cheaply. These windmills, however, take a lot of these windmill blades, which is going to be a lot of this treated wood. We have a lot of this backed up, actually, because we've been storing creosote for quite some time now. Yeah, as you can see, we have a full disc of this. I might actually increase this buffer, though, because, I mean, if we're filling up at this point, there's no reason for us to not just upgrade it, because what's the point in voiding it all, right? We're going to probably be using it at some point, I would imagine. So I'm just going to upgrade this disc from a 1k to like a 16k and never have to worry about it again, probably. Yeah, this air reagent isn't too bad. We just have to single click in these pressurized tanks. We're going to go for about 16 of each of these reagents to start with. I think that will get us 4 cores of each, should we need cores for anything, besides the lack of will we have, of course. But I'm hoping that's a good starting point, at least. I'm seeing we need salt blocks now, and I am deeply upset with myself that I got rid of that mechanism setup before actually looking to see if salt had any use, but I guess how was I supposed to know that salt makes salt blocks makes water reagents, right? Oh well. I can also just find some in the world for right now, which is probably what I'll do. Yeah, salt was just about in every single river, so this is also no big deal besides just a bunch of clicking, really. Yeah, this lava reagent ain't nothing. We have Flux Electrum on passive, and this dirty reagent is also basically nothing. We made all this stuff back in like chapter 3. Would you believe it though, making a stack of reagents kills your will output. So we're back to the willed wood. But this time I have a sneaky trick up my sleeve from the comments that hopefully works. Supposedly any kills with this thing in my offhand should give me some will. No dice. Maybe it's only melee weapons. No again. Does it have to be the sword? Am I doing something wrong maybe? No, it just has to be the sword for real. Oh well. Took a little bit of elbow grease, but here we are. All of our reagents for tier 1. We can now make the tier 2 reagents, which appear to start needing some of these tier 4 potions, so that's going to require us to start doing some more stuff with the alchemical retort, I think it's called. This wizard's reagent's pretty easy. We've been collecting most of these for quite a while. I think we're running a little low on amethyst, or below 1,000. I don't know why I haven't gotten any from the quantum quarry, but oh well. This frost reagent's really easy, and this growth reagent also seems pretty easy. At worst, we have to make some more saplings, but the roots transmutation ritual is nothing important. But it looks like to upgrade our Tartaric gem, we need these cores, which take basically just the reagents and essences we've made so far, plus this empty core, which is actually no problem. We should be able to make 12 of those like without any trouble at all, right? Oh, what do we need? Hardened iridium glass. Oh, okay, that's no problem. We can just set a passive recipe for that easy. Dink donk. So I'm noticing very quickly for these cores that I'm making, we are not going to have enough reagents for these in the long term. Like, we can barely make the ones we need for these Tartaric gems. Albeit we are making 4, but still, this is not enough. So I'm thinking we're probably going to have to automate this a lot shorter term than I thought we would. Which is probably for the best, but I was hoping to get away with manual crafting for at least a little bit. Maybe I still can if I just have big enough Tartaric gems. But just like that, we should be able to make some more. Takes a whole lot of will for that, though. And our quest. It looks like these hold like 4 times as much, though. Oh, actually, it says exactly how much it does. Okay, great. Yeah, having 4 times the capacity alone will already be a big help. Well, back to more will farming for our bowls of promises. With all this will in hand, we should be able to make our bowls of promises, though. Now we can just dump these in here and let these do their thing. And these bowls are really slow to build. The time it took for 1 bowl, we got 4 of these promise acceptors. Though not too long later, we've already got ourselves a few winners of these bowls. While we wait for the rest to finish, let's look ahead. We need to make this Promise of Tenacity, which I think is just like a machine upgrade, which doesn't seem too hard to make. Cosmic alloys behind us and everything else we've basically just now made. So let's make it. And another, and another, and a quest while we wait for our fourth. Next we need to make this Gold Promise Acceptor, which is a block of empowered Glod, but with 40 buckets of blood this time, which is not great. But we also have access to these trees now, which are just still a lot of blood and top of a dead bush with one of these Promises of Tenacity in there. So now we can make these things, which I think make blood for us or something. Like I think you can cut down these trees or something or other. The quest isn't super helpful here, it's just ominous. Well, back to the Wildwood we go for more will and blood. So 25 whole buckets of blood and a little bit of waiting later. We have an Undead Sapling. Now this unlocks this Frozen Blood Core, which I believe opens up the Tier 3 Blood Orb. Uses this Icy Core, which is just one of these Tier 2 cores. And these Undead Logs, as well as one of these Iron Promise Acceptors. This isn't too bad, it's just kind of tedium at the moment for us. But we don't really need a Tier 3 Blood Orb at the moment either, besides for the Tier 3 Essences, but we'll get to that in a little bit. I kind of want to just figure out how these things work real quick, though. So we should be able to just bone meal it, and we get this tree, which looks strangely like a jungle tree. Oh, it actually dripped. That's a little creepy. It's kind of cool, actually. So if we cut this down, do we get saplings? No. Well, each log squeezes out for 100 millibuckets of blood, which doesn't seem particularly worth it, given it takes about 25 buckets to make the thing. Surely there's a better way to get saplings from this thing than that. Ooh, how about reading the mod book? That might help. Well, I've tried opening this book 3 times now, and each time it has crashed my game to title screen, so I think I'm not gonna do that. I'm reading something about they drop blood if they're grown naturally, so I guess I'll just put a couple down around here and see if maybe those will yield fruit, proverbially speaking at least. In the meantime, I do want to get the most out of this undead log for these planks so that we can make these wooden paths. So the best way for this is almost certainly is this sawmill here, so we're just going to use this. We'll just chuck this here for the time being because I'm lazy. Well, while those run, let's get our path blocks going. There we go. I ain't sniffing that. So I think we just put these down right here. And then we can do stuff like have rivers or crops in these little corner sections, which should increase our tranquility even more. Yeah, if we look up past where the engine hover charger thing is, there's like a 48, and I think that used to be lower. I think it was around 20 by default. Yeah, it's a 0 and 20 it looks like. So already this thing should be twice as effective. And we have 424, I think that's tranquility value at the top. So I guess it's plus 48. I don't know what the 48 means, but I'm sure it's good. Oh, I get a few more runes of self-sacrifice, that's nice. So it looks like they recommend crops, logs, leaves, lava, netherrack, farmland, water, and life essence. So I think we'll do crops, water, logs, and leaves. Alright, we've gotten to plus 60 now, so I'm actually really curious to see how much we get from a sacrifice now. It looks like these next few want us to create these stone brick paths, which are not too bad, but we do need more of the wooden paths, which require more of that undead wood, which we don't have a ton of yet. But also they extend out more, so this little thing I built here is pointless. I need to extend it a lot more that way, so I mean, I guess I'll just worry about that later. Well, we've got the 40 buckets of blood, so I guess we'll get this Gold Promise Acceptor real quick. Get us another step towards our quests. Nice and easy. So it says this replaces the Promise of Tenacity one. It looks like we need another 15 buckets of blood. Looks like about 30 for a Promise of Tenacity, plus these Holy Cores, which are, again, just more reagents and their correlating essence. So it looks like these reagents are going to be something we're going to have to prepare ourselves a lot more for. So I want to see what potions I need for all of the future reagents, so I only have to like sit down and automate all these potions the one time. So let's go through that together. So obviously we need Potions of Haste, 4. We're going to need Splash Potions of Night Vision, Extended. We need Potions of Swiftness, 4. Potions of Strength, 4. Potions of Harming, 4. Potions of Absorption, 4. And I think that's everything. So 6 potions that we're going to have to start auto-crafting. Now the issue with something like that is I don't really want to put it in our passives wing because this is going to be a bit of an involved process with a lot of potions. So I think we're actually gonna build on camera for once, because I didn't really anticipate this being so soon. So I'm thinking maybe somewhere out here, kind of off this way from the rainbow generator. We could take a path out here maybe if we wanted to. We could also take it and come back up this way maybe. We could also pull a connection of our base over this way towards the back here, but I don't think I want to do this for potions, because this feels like a bit more of like a high industry area, and that doesn't feel, you know, very whimsical. Or rather, potions feel very whimsical, and that doesn't. So I'm thinking somewhere either this way or that way. Oh, it appears there were people waiting for me. I saw a skeleton horse over here, and I was wondering what was up with that. Maybe that's what happened to a lot of these trees. Maybe they got hit by lightning and started burning. What's happening with all these skeleton horses? Like 2 episodes in a row, are you kidding me? What's going on here? After much deliberation, I think I want to build this out over this way. The idea I've had with a lot of this base is I've been kind of trying to make a, not like a spectrum per se, but kind of a spectrum. Gradient is the word I'm looking for. I found the gradient kind of ideas help me pick block palettes easier. Like we have a green over here. There was no real reason, it's just the place used to be green. And it gets a bit brighter, then it gets a bit back darker again down here, and we'll take this darker shade over that way and probably do some other stuff with it. If you look out in the thermal area over here, we can see that the shade gets a bit lighter, and it kind of goes to those more warmer colors over there. And it'll probably turn to more oranges and reds if we ever build out that way again, which we probably will. But we're not talking about that today. We're talking about this way, which we're doing darker greens into probably like maybe dark cyans at some point. Maybe we'll use a dark cyan. Ooh, those are very nice actually. Well, some of these are obviously a lot nicer than others. Even that Venom one is honestly super pretty. I really like that texture. Yeah, I'm just gonna start placing some blocks and see where my canvas takes me, so to speak. It takes me to a misplace, as you've already seen. Well, it's nothing too pretty, but it's a place to put stuff, and really that's what we need a lot of the time. I tried to add a little bit of extra shape to it. We added a little bit of height variation, a little bit of non-boxing by adding extra boxes. This is actually the secret trick if you want to unbox your build. Just add more boxes. Adding more boxes that overlap with each other makes them look better, because it makes it stop looking like boxes. I want to say that was a Chaos Terraria YouTuber tip. If anyone knows that guy, shout out that guy. But yeah, so this should suffice us with plenty of space to do our potion brewing. I've got a bit more I want to do with the room. I'll figure it out once I've put stuff down. Function over form, you get it. Plus, form can find its way when you already do your function. So, you know, maybe we'll have something hit us as we're putting this together. What we're putting together is, of course, these potions. Each one takes 2 alchemical retort steps with fractionating stills, like this, as well as 2 alchemical imbuer steps from awkward potions in order to actually make a given potion of the tier 2 variety. So for each of these potions, we need a total of, I want to say, 6 machines. In order to turn awkward potions into a given potion, we need an alchemical imbuer. We need another one to take it to tier 2. Then we need 2 fractionating stills with these alchemical retorts to take it to tiers 3 and 4 respectively. And then we need a fluid transposer to put it in a bottle. And our 6th quote-unquote machine will just be a drawer, because you know how I am. We need drawers everywhere. What's the point in buffering something if it's not in a drawer? So I think I'm going to put them into these walls here. I was originally going to set them over in that corner, but we don't exactly have enough space. Those are 5x5s, not anything by 6. But these should do us fine. I just kind of need to figure out a spacer block at some point in there, because that's a 7x5 or something. Yeah, that's a 7x5, and we only use 6 blocks of space, so we'll find a spacer block of some variety and make it look nice. Maybe some drawer trim. So as said earlier, our chain starts with 2 alchemical imbuer steps, that's its fluid transposer, alchemical imbuer, then we have 2 fractionating still steps, and then into a fluid transposer. And then we'll just add some drawer like this. Now this is the line we have to use for all but one of these potions, because the other one is a splash potion of night vision, which actually doesn't need any retort steps. We could theoretically do this entirely in one of these potion brewers from Industrial Foregoing, but we already have all the space, so we may as well use it, right? I don't know if we'll need any other potions at any future point in the pack, but if we do, we'll have somewhere to put it all. And to save ourselves a lot of clicking, we can use this red print here. It basically just copies and pastes settings, so we only have to really set any of these one given time, which is nice. So most of this stuff is really just going to be applying items into one of these things and then applying power to everything, in addition to the awkward potions we're going to need. Or I guess awkward potion fluid, which I think we'll just kind of cordon this off and put right here. Awkward potion's really easy to make. It's just water and netherwort and an alchemical imbuer, but we're going to need a lot of this, and it feels unnecessary to repeat the step so many times. I suppose it would fill out the 7th block, but do we really need to do that? I mean, I suppose we might need to do that. And really, what's the harm in it? My thoughts right now are, I'm kind of torn on it actually, because we could run into some issues with funky prioritizing, causing some issues. Like if we end up needing a ton of these, say, potent reagents or whatever, and we use like 100 or something like that, as well as 100 of these, whatever these potions of strength are used for, then how is it going to backlog that? Is that good? Is that bad? Can we make one machine of awkward potions fast enough to supply 6+ machines of potion lines? Maybe, but I'm not sure if that's actually worth it, thinking about it again. Because again, we do kind of need this extra block space for really no other purpose besides looks. Oh, and who am I to say no to looks? Yeah, I like that a lot more actually. Might be worth just putting this here anyways, so then we have a 5x5 here as well for whatever we might need. So how we're going to set these up is we're going to have water inputs on each of these using an unending bowl, and we're going to use some interfaces around where that pillar is, but like a little bit behind it, you know, out of reach and out of sight. And we'll just request a bunch of items whenever necessary, and really I think that should do just about everything we need. And of course power as well from a power cell. But I've got a bit of a funny idea on how to do this that really doesn't change a whole lot about it, but it does get me away with using less filters, which I do like. So what we're going to do here is we're going to take full advantage of EnderIO's channel system to hopefully limit our filter requirements. So things like netherwort, glass bottles, and glowstone we're going to use in a lot of these, and we don't really want to spam so many filters. So what we can do instead is, because we have several connections to this interface, what we can do is we can actually extract on certain channels, say red in this example, and we can have only netherwort being extracted on red. We can make so only the machines that need to accept netherwort on red, and now we don't have to have an input filter because we have an output filter because we just have a separate channel only for netherwort. We can do the same for glowstone on this yellow channel here. And because this step here is always using glowstone, we can just copy it, paste it, and that's all our filters done. We should be able to turn these on already without having to worry about anything going in the wrong spot, which is nice because those will probably take a while to back up. The ingredients for each of these, being blaze powder and the things like that, that make it actually into what the potion is, we do have to filter manually. So we'll use a second interface for that because there isn't going to be enough spots here. Well, this is an embarrassing problem to have now. Potions of instant damage. You actually don't make these from awkward potions at all. You make them from potions of healing using a fermented spider eye. And potions of healing are, of course, actually made of awkward potion. The problem is this ruins what we have going on here. I suppose we could tack another thing onto the end, but I feel like that would look really ugly. So maybe we'll tack it onto the bottom instead. That feels less terrible, actually. For water, we'll just chuck an unending bowl here, and for power, we'll just use a power cell. And I think it's really beautiful that we can request so many things wirelessly. Imagine having to set up something for water every time we did this. That would be terrible, and that would make me sad. Looks like some of these machines have already kicked on with just water, which makes sense because all it needs is nether warts and water. Yeah, we're already beating to buffer our awkward potion. That's great, that's really good to see. So for the rest of our potion ingredients, we need golden carrots, blizz powder, glistering melons, fermented spider eyes, blaze powder, sugar, and basalt's powder. As you can see by the interface, we currently have 5 of these things, and the only 2 we're missing, I believe, are just standard crafting steps, and very easy ones at that. Problem is, it looks like we've run out of crafter space. I'm not really sure how much I want to copy this setup. Like, I did this once, and ever since, whenever I had to add something new to this, it really rears its head how much of a pain this setup actually was, or at least how I set it up the first time. It's certainly more space efficient, but maybe there's a better way of doing this. We have a little bit of space on this side of the passives warehouse still, so I suppose we'll try here. So I think in order to save myself some logistical nightmares in the future, we're just gonna make this a lot simpler. I think I'm just going to use a bunch of limited item filters rather than trying to awkwardly mess with everything here. I feel like limited item filters, now that we can actually make them on passive, are probably worth our time, rather than trying to do all this finicky nightmares with cable management and the stick filtering with the crafters. I feel like it'll just be easier to use limited item filters. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to treat this as kind of like a network that we can pull things from. So we'll be pulling from a series of interfaces down here on brown channel, and anything, or any crafter will be on brown input. They'll just have a limited item filter on them, so it's not taking junk that it doesn't need. And then we'll have all of the crafters outputting on blue into any of the drawers, which they're all locked, so they're not going to get added to unless there's already something there. And that way we can also be a lot more precise with our drawers. So that if we want to have soul vials and, say, stone gears in the same one, we don't have to say, well, do we want to buffer 2,000 soul vials, or do we want to buffer only a stack of stone gears? Bonus points if you have any idea what any of that means. And we should be basically done. Really, we're just treating these like those thermal machines that we have over there, actually. And because we just are going to put a filter on each thing, we're not going to have to worry about such a logistical nightmare. Basically, this is to solve a problem that you'll never see ever again. Although I guess any problem is solved if you never see it again, huh? Anyway, we should probably actually get back to what we were doing and get these things requested and crafted. Although our new problem is actually we don't have a way to make melons yet. Although, it looks like once we get nature essence, we can actually just craft the melon blocks and turn those into melon slices. And that's not super far away, these are only tier 1 seeds. But obviously we can't do that yet, so I'm thinking for the time being, I have a little bit of a dastardly idea. Hello? Well, actually, while we get that going, we may as well continue with the rest of these potions. It's mostly just crafting a powered spawner right now, and that takes time. For the rest of these, we should be able to just apply filters to machines, and it should be good to go. And I think for what we do have, we're all good to go now. If you'll notice right here, I forgot that it has to be invisibility throwable, not invisibility 4. Or night vision. So we have a small space right there, but also we don't have a way to transfer the fluid there yet. I might just put a tank, maybe I can paint one with Ender IO, I don't know, I'll think about it. So now we should be getting our melons, right? Now actually looking at the absorption hopper here, it looks like these guys seem to give different drops based on their color. I think the green ones are giving melons, and probably these are the purple, red, and the yellow ones. So we probably want to trash 3 of these items, but we'll put melons on the wall here for right now. One passive crafting step later, now our potions of healing are coming through, and so our potions of night vision. We've got just about everything. We should probably also hit each of these with a downgrade though, albeit they're not super expensive, so we can hit them with a small upgrade. Also, these haste 4 potions might just be kind of handy. 40% digging speed can be kind of nice if we're digging out a large area. We're also going to give every single one of these machines one of these hardened upgrade kits. I don't really feel a need to go to resonant with all of these, but hardened is cheap enough, and it's a pretty noticeable speed boost, so I think it'll be good. Alright, so with all the potions done, what were we doing again? Holy cores, that's it. For the most part, we can't really, or we don't have enough infrastructure, or frankly enough time, to look into automating a Hellfire Forge. We don't have will production, which is something I understand that we develop fully passive versions of later. So for the time being, I'm just gonna make this a recipe that I can request. And we'll put it in this interface over here, so we should be able to just make these whenever we want to. We just have to do it by hand. And we have to have enough will. The only thing we're really missing at this point is these cookie jars. which seems to finally require us to figure out cocoa beans. And I think the solution I figured out is putting it off even more. Again, these nature essences are probably going to be super, super handy to have just a bunch of laying around. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to stave this off and manually fill up cocoa beans for a little while. We don't need that many cookies after all. Now with sufficient will in hand, we should be able to just craft some haste reagents. Can I? Seems good so far. Oh, here's our stuff. I should be able to just chuck these into a forge, and there it goes. All right, pretty good. It's not auto-crafting, but it's kind of auto-crafting. It's assisted crafting, how about that? And I think I'll set up an assisted pattern for these holy cores. So now I should be able to just request holy cores, and I want probably a total of 8 of these. Missing empty cores, which is just a simple recipe. How about now? Yes, very nice. Oh, but this is going to take a lot of will, probably. Now we can just craft our cores. Nice. That's most the hard part out of the way. Now we just need a boatload of blood for these bowls of promises. It's like 15 buckets a bowl, so 30 buckets per promise. It's kind of tough. Looks like these trees have grown, though. They seem to be dripping blood occasionally, but I don't really know what to do with that. So I'm reading that supposedly... Oh, this is a very promising color. Yes! Okay, interesting. We can draw blood using these arboreal extractors, provided it's a naturally grown tree, question mark? Maybe we can use bone meal? I don't know. Point is, it has to be actually put here, which is not the worst thing in the world. It is a passive supply of the stuff, if nothing else. Can we put it in tanks, I wonder? Yes, we can. Interesting. Okay, we can have a slow but passive stream of blood for just chilling here. That's pretty good. Seems pretty good to me, at least. How's about we put one up there somewhere? A little bit of a rudimentary setup, but it is passive blood. And rain. Of course, that cursed rain. I think while that fills up passively, though, we should go manually collect some blood from the wildwood. A little bit of blood to the infuser. Really, kind of a lot of blood. Toss in a couple bowls of empty promises, and then wait for erosion, really. There's strength 0. Oh, strength 1 is actually much faster. Yeah, that took no time at all. That should let us make our first promise of tenacity 2. Maintaining despite what? I guess that is what tenacity is, isn't it? So it looks like for our tier 3, we need 160 buckets of blood, in addition to tempest cores and even more bowls of promises. These tempest cores aren't anything too crazy. We have the potions of swiftness now. Windmills are a little weird, but again, nothing we haven't done before. And wind chimes, the only thing that's really a problem here would be the red cedar wood, but we have some extra saplings of this, so we should be able to grow some more. So really it's just more will steps and the like, which is not too bad. It looks like these promise acceptors of the diamond tier also give us access to these productivity, which helps our efficiency or speed with the velocity. And this box of eternal closure, which I think gets us to ender crafting and thus mystical agriculture. Really our only bottleneck is just having a ton of blood on hand. So maybe I should look into like a powered spawner or something like that, just to have really high HP guys to smack. And as much as I'd like to go and see what all that has in store for me, I think it's time to end the episode for today. Once again, we were a bit overzealous with our goals, but we did get a lot done all the same. We automated our tier 2 essences, and I imagine tier 3 will come very soon. We took our first foray into EvilCraft properly, with some of these promises of tenacity and the things that come with it, specifically needing more of these reagents, cores, and the like. Speaking of reagents, we made a potion lab. And don't worry, I fixed the night vision potion, if you saw that was wrong. And we upgraded to our Promise of Tenacity 2, and we should be able to upgrade that to Promise of Tenacity 3 very easily next time. Again, the only thing we're really bottlenecked by is blood and will, which is just how many mobs I feel like killing at a given moment. Which is not too bad of a place to be at. That feels like a very solvable problem. A problem I hope to solve with you next time. Thank you for watching, and I hope to catch you again next time. Bye bye.